With the success of the Resident Evil 2 remake and an RE3 remake already approaching, you have to wonder, will Capcom be working on a Resident Evil 0 remake? Well, that is a possibility, so I'd like to share some ideas that I have as to what a remake of RE0 could become. If this game were to be remade, one thing I would want it to include is a co-op mode. I mean, you gotta include it if this game is meant to give us a partner mostly at all times. The trick would be to give the second player something to do when both characters get split up. However, a remake indicates that the story does not have to play out exactly like it did with the original released version. So the story is gonna have to change. We'll get into the whole story change aspect in a bit. But one of the reasons why I think the game should include an option to allow a friend to control your partner rather than how it was in the game is because if the Resident Evil 3 remake is going to include the Resistance Online mode, that's going to give us a taste of both a multiplayer mode with the new remake gameplay mechanics. So that mode will give us the experience to see what it's like to work together as a team with actual friends instead of an AI. The Resident Evil 0 remake could be the first new remake to give us a little of both, the multiplayer feature included in a story mode. This would be a great way to build up even more hype on the Resident Evil Outbreak series that we've all been hoping for. RE3's Resistance mode will give us a chance to work with 3 friends to beat this survival minigame. Then the RE0 remake could give us a story mode to experience with a friend. And then the Resident Evil Outbreak remake could be a combination of both. This time it'd be 4 players in a story mode experience. If anything, this would be the perfect time to redeem the Bravo team members that only got the attention when they were already corpses. By now, Capcom must be well aware that fans of the series want to see more from the very minor characters that appeared in the original trilogy. RE0 was the right opportunity to shed some light on Rebecca's teammates, but Capcom decided to go in a different direction that would fit the tone of Code Veronica and the more action-packed genre that they had in mind for the future of the series. That's probably why Resident Evil 0 fell a little out of place. The remastered version of RE0 included the Wesker Mode, which swaps Billy's character model with Wesker. Rebecca stays as herself, except that they gave her a new costume with that P30 injector attached to her chest, and they gave her red glowy eyes to make it appear as if she was under Wesker's control. Wesker also gets 2 exclusive abilities, the Shadow Dash, which allows him to sprint straight forward, and the Death Stare, where he unleashes a powerful ranged blast of energy. The Shadow Dash is quite pointless because Wesker will only run forward, and you'll only end up using it during the train scenario. And the Death Stare is very weak in appearance, but it's a powerful attack which can also be charged to make it even more powerful. So you don't have to worry about ammo when you already have this powerful unlimited attack. A dodge mechanic would have been better suited so it does not make the game extremely easy when using the Wesker mode. It's just a bit of a letdown when compared to what a real Wesker mode could have actually been instead. Why do I say this? Because the last thing we must talk about is how the story must change. Obviously, I'm not going to repeat everything I said in this video. Check it out if you want to know my opinion on what I think the story of Resident Evil 0 should have been like. So what I would like to include instead is that they actually let Wesker be the main antagonist like how it was supposed to be in the prototype. If Capcom wants to go back to making Resident Evil feel somewhat realistic and back to its horror roots, they're going to have to go deep into their old concepts. They can forget about fixed camera angles since they fear that sales will decrease because they think it's an outdated gameplay, but I think they had something interesting with their prototype storyline. Wesker was a very intimidating and interesting character when he was human. He was already an expert in armed and unarmed combat. His prominent scientific knowledge was enigmatic. You could never tell what was in his mind because he always had his poker face on at all times. That was what made him a very lovable antagonist in RE1. Resident Evil Code Veronica ruined him by giving him that Matrix virus, allowing him to run on walls. When you're giving someone this much power, their original traits tend to fade, unless that particular character is changing to a better arc, which it didn't. So I'd recommend changing the events shown in the official Resident Evil 0 and use the prototype antagonist instead. Can you imagine if Wesker Mode was actually the prototype storyline rather than playing as RE5 Wesker with these 2 annoying abilities? But aside from the game's true antagonist, we need to talk about the rest of the enemies in the game as well. Zombies will always be included, of course, but if you're gonna have a partner throughout the game, they have to include the Crimson Head zombies. Those zombies only got an official appearance in the Resident Evil 1 remake and weren't even included with the RE2 remake. I think they definitely made zombies much more terrifying when they run towards you as opposed to walking like the rest of them. They even took additional hits to take down, so if the remake zombies will be taking additional hits like with the RE2 remake, then Crimson Heads will be a nightmare to deal with if they're just faster zombies. And aside from zombies, Capcom needs to bring out some of their cancelled creatures and rethink about using them, because no one was happy with the fact that just about every creature in the game was nothing but a giant insect. They have to get creative with the enemies here, especially since they scrapped the zombie crows and giant spiders for the RE2 remake. I don't know why they didn't include the zombie crows when they're just as iconic to the series as zombies. But if they're not gonna include giant spiders, then don't include other giant insects that spiders would eat. So forget about a giant scorpion, a giant bat, crickets or roaches, whatever those were. And if you want to include James Marcus in the game, don't make him an opera-singing, transforming Leech Queen. Make it believable to this new remake series. He could always be a supporting character to Wesker and Burke instead of being against them. Or if he's still against them, then give him a new direction. Don't let it be another revenge story because we already have plenty of those. I know Umbrella is full of traitors, but we don't need more antagonists that were betrayed by Umbrella. Have his story connect with another character, or in this case, an underrated character's story, that being Lisa Trevor. The manhwa of RE0 actually did something very similar to this idea, and as much as I'm not a big fan of that manhwa story, I think it would work very well to tie it in with the RE1 remake. Also, if Billy Cohen isn't going to be featured in any other spin-offs or sequels, then perhaps it'd be a better move to include some of the other prisoners from his group, including his best friend like in the manhwa, to better develop his character and trust for either side he's in. So if we ever get a remake on the works for Resident Evil 0, I hope the developers try something similar to these concepts. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments, because as of now, that's it for the video. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, as apparently now it doesn't even matter if you hit the notification button. The like button is the only thing YouTube is permitting us to use as a way to send more traffic to that video. If you're a Patreon supporter, check out the exclusive videos on my Patreon. Go support the channel, which is only $1. Sacrifice that McChicken for extra quality content, my friend. But anyways, I'll see you all in the next video, and remember to have an awesome day.